okay, now we know what the challenges are. But socially, what do we do? How do we equip ourselves to deal with some of these challenges? In order to do that, we have to put front and center the future of our youth. We have to ask ourselves, what is their future in their own context as Canadian Shia? And where is our voice? We have to learn to negotiate with the broader world, or it will eventually swallow us. To live productively and understand the nature of this world and its circumstances while holding on to our iman. And the only way to do that is to provide an education that informs and speaks to and understands that context and that situation. That is the only way. Without that, everything I said in the first khutbah is just platitudes. That's all it is. And that might require some of us to come out of our comfort zones and discuss certain issues and change certain ways that we do things. Not our belief, not our ibadat and wajibat, no. But the way we arrive at them, the way we teach them, the way we propagate them. This will require us to adapt, not change. Adapt does not mean change. It will require us to adapt to a new environment. I'll give you an example. I recently met with a group of youth at the University of Toronto, where I have the honor to be a researcher and have our institute at the University of Toronto. So I meet regularly with Shia youth. And I asked them, what do you need for the future? And there was one very positive thing that came out of this, which was their love for the Ahlul Bayt, their love for Islam, their desire to be Muslim. But the context in which they understand that is very much within the context of them being Canadian. Is their Canadian identity. There's no disconnection between the two unless they're planning on booking it somewhere else. And 99.9% of them are not. So how do they bridge both? Because they equally want to be good citizens. They believe that their religion doesn't only teach them to stay in their masjids and perform certain practices, all of which are good and important and must continue, but to be ambassadors to the broader world around them, to visit their food banks, donate, partake in good social human activities that are, of course, in line within the madhab. Volunteer, like I said, at a local food bank, even if it be during Christmas. Not celebrating Christmas, but volunteering to feed the homeless or the poor or the needy, partaking in interfaith events, entering into dialogue with people who have some common moral and ethical values. The future lies in those kinds of activities, at least partially. Because they're not going anywhere. I remember Mullah Rizvi saying so many times, for those of you who think that, many of you have come here and still have that nostalgia, and there's nothing wrong with that because of your watan, of your homeland. But your children that are born here or came here at a young age, they don't have that nostalgia. They're looking for something out of the box that may make some of you or our elders uncomfortable. But it's not out of the box of Allah and Ahlul Bayt. We have to differentiate between the two. Between what's out of the box of the madhab of Ahlul Bayt and what's out of the box of people's cultural comfort zones. Those are two different things. And our success and failure as someone who's on the ground, in the world, out there with people, outward facing, in my humble view, a part of our success and failure as Muslims will be on how we negotiate this. It will require some of us that have that nostalgia to step back and maybe sacrifice certain things that we held on to that weren't necessarily a part of the thawabit of the madhab. This will be required. And maybe it's already happening, then alhamdulillah. But we can talk about shaitan until we are blue in the face. But without having actual creative, dynamic solutions where new voices are coming forward. The voices of people who not will be the future, are the future now. Then, we may not, some of us may not survive the onslaught. Of course, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that that is not the case, and I'm not saying it is the case. I'm simply saying as an individual who's well placed, alhamdulillah, to know and to see these things is in the academy, in the schools out there, where, this is my humble view over the period of 10 or 15 years of observations. And each person can, of course, decide for themselves.